The promised day has finally arrived, and this is probably my third or fourth superhero-based video in a row. I'm gonna have to do something different after this. I think I'm making a Metal Gear video, so be sure to stay tuned for that. But Marvel's Spider-Man 2 has finally received its update. Now here's the thing. This is changing this game forever. We're gonna talk about the good, we're gonna talk about the bad. I want the Spider-Man fanboys to settle down. I enjoyed this game. I liked it. I actually played through this game over on my Let's Play channel, Degenerate Plays. The link is in the description down below. And I've had an overall fun time. Now, Spider-Man 2 was marred by some issues at launch, which I think are worth pointing out. For example, they didn't have a lot of features that people expected to be in the game. A lot of those features are now being added in with this update. Also, the game, I would say, was a little rushed by Sony. I don't blame Insomniac for that, but it's something I've talked about a lot in my Let's Play, and I've talked about a few times on this channel. This game very clearly was reaching a little bit above and beyond what it was able to do, because as Brian Intihar from Insomniac actually revealed in a little discussion interview a while back, Sony was kind of pushing them to get the game out because it was taking a long time, the budget was getting up there, and so they kind of had to hurry up and finish. Now that said, this update, it's not like a director's cut or anything. It's not like they sat down and spent $50 million to add in a bunch more cutscenes or flesh out story beats or things like that. But what it is actually doing is adding in things like New Game Plus. There's a couple suits being added as well. The Hellfire Gala suits are being added. There's some more stuff too that I think is really cool, so we're going to talk about that today. If you enjoyed today's video, please be sure to leave a like, subscribe for more content. I do talk about Spider-Man, I talk about all kinds of stuff. Circle back to James Bond recently, like I said, Metal Gear video soon. It's a variety channel, so we have a fun time. And also, by the way, question of the day, what is your favorite Spider-Man suit for Miles and for Peter in this game? I'm actually very, very interested in that. Or, alternatively, what is one suit for each of these boys that you would like to see added into the game? Because I'm still hopeful that we will get more suits after this. I have a Fortnite creator code if you want to help support the channel, and some more stuff we'll mention at the end of the video, but let's hop back into it. Now, I think that the biggest addition to this is going to be New Game Plus. This is something that I'm actually surprised was not in the game at launch, not because it was in the original game, it actually wasn't. It was added in later, but it's something that after they added it in, and then after Miles Morales launched with it, I kind of just thought it was going to be a mainstay for the series. This is going to be awesome for people who want to go back and play through the game on maybe a harder difficulty with all their suit unlocks. And this is also actually removing that, I would say, hard block of a lot of these story cutscenes where they had suits that you had to wear in that cutscene. Now, I'm not sure how this will work for certain things. I'm going to have to mess around with it because obviously the update just dropped. I would assume that in, like, you know, in the scene where Peter is tearing the symbiote off of him, they would have to, modify that a little bit. But I didn't replay that mission as of this moment. That said, I think this is really cool because now you can finally get that crappy Adidas suit off of Miles in the climax of the game because, it's a little distracting and not the best, in my opinion. I think it's really awesome, though, to see the Hellfire Gala variants added in for Miles and also for Peter. That said, I'm not a fan of the Miles one. Somebody probably is. Is this my opportunity to make the joke that I don't have exaggerated swagger, or is that joke dead? I don't know. You let me know in the comments down below. That still lives rent-free in my head with memes like Ugandan Knuckles and Big Chungus, so I'm just becoming the old man on the internet who can't let go of the glory days. But that said, I'm still glad that they are adding these in. I think the Hellfire variant for Peter is actually really awesome. It's very sleek, very stylish. The Miles one to me is just busy. It's got a lot going on, but I do like the coloring on it, and I actually really like his shoes. I think they're really cool. One of the biggest things to me that has been pissing off my OCD with this game is the tendrils. The symbiote tendrils are just locked to various colors at different points in the game. So when you're supposed to have on the black suit, obviously, the tendrils are black. When you have on the anti-venom suit and on in the story, they are white, right? Well, that still means that you're stuck with those white tendrils in pretty much the latter third of the game after you get the anti-venom suit when you're just kind of moving around the world, even if you put on something like the classic symbiote suit. So you'd be using a black suit and shooting out white tendrils. You're actually able to match the tendrils now to different costumes, and I think that that's great because that's something that's been bothering me. Now, is it really the biggest deal ever? No. Obviously, things like Mission Replay and New Game Plus are much more important, but I do like that it's here. I do like that they've actually done that. One thing I did want to mention is that when they actually talked about the tendril color thing, I thought that it was going to essentially be a color wheel. I don't know why I thought this. I filled it probably in my head, like I filled in the blanks. So this is probably on me. But I had thought that it would be more than just black and white for your choices. Like I thought you'd be able to match it to, say, a blue suit. But it's just black and white. Now, black goes together with a lot of things better than white did, so it's whatever. But it's still kind of odd to be playing as, say, the Amazing Spider-Man 2 suit and have black tendrils come out of you. I guess I thought there would be a red option for something like that, or that it would, match the suit. Now, that said, I'm sure that you'd probably have to retexture these the tendrils or something, so that's probably why it didn't happen, but I had thought that's what was going to happen. There was also a major mess up with this update that's worth pointing out. Now, I'm not going to show you this because bringing it up, you can leak a lot of potential extra missions and stuff that I think is going to be coming to the game. Either that or it was just cut out of the game. But either way, I'm not sure. There are a lot of references to villains that weren't in the main game, or at the very least weren't interactable with in the main game, that are interactable with in this developer menu that you can bring up in the game. I don't really know how this got messed up. I don't know how it was so easy to bring up a sort of developer/debug menu. It seems to me like, I guess I don't understand how this happened, because this wasn't rushed. This patch took them a very long time. I know they were dealing with a lot of things in terms of like the leaks around their games and the hack and all that stuff and pressure from Sony. So maybe even though they had a lot of time to do this, maybe it was sort of rushed behind the scenes. It just, to me, it seems like they had time, but I know they were dealing with other stuff. So I'm thinking maybe that's what happened here. But either way, you can look up how to do that online if you want to. The reason I'm not showing it here is because anytime there's like a minor leak, even if it's a company's fault, a lot of the times they will, do these like copyright strikes and stuff, even though it's literally in their game. So I'm just not touching it. And I also don't want to ruin potential story spoilers for you going forward. But you can look that up if you want to. It was a pretty big oopsie whoopsie poopsie to include in probably their most hyped thing that they're doing right now, because they've been talking on social media about this update for quite a while, and then it comes out and it has a problem like that that's very glaring and is just potentially leaking future content from them specifically, not from some data miner or anything. They just put it right out there. So that was certainly an interesting thing. I'm assuming that'll be patched out, but I guess we'll have to see. There is also a bunch of updates to photo mode that you can mess around with here. So there's an action figure mode, there's stickers. You can even change the time of day as well now after beating the story, which I think is great. They did actually go through all of this a little bit ago in a PlayStation blog update, which was back in February. But I do want to just point these things out, because if you're kind of looking through this and you're like, well, what are all the new features? These are a lot of them that I think are going to be really fun. There's also golden gadget styles. So some of these things are just purely cosmetic, but some of them really do affect gameplay. Now, that said, I do understand that this update is a bit of a sore subject for a lot of people. A lot of people are looking at this game and they're thinking, hey, this should have been in the game at launch. What happened? Like, why weren't a lot of these things already here? And I understand that. Like for New Game Plus and for Mission Replay, that's kind of how I feel. A lot of these little cosmetic tweaks, I understand adding them in. But again, as the old man on the internet, this really has made me kind of miss the days when the game just launched on disc and it was done. I do find a little bit of frustration with these kinds of updates, just because for me, from a game preservation standpoint, I don't expect things like Fortnite to be preserved forever and ever, right? I always mention Fortnite because it's basically the games as a service game that I play. When it comes to single player games that launch on a disc, I really want pretty much everything to be done and on disc. I worry about a future in 40 years when somebody won't be able to get the update or something. I know that that's not something most people worry about, but it is something that comes to my mind when you're adding in features and things like this that probably could have been in at launch if Sony had just let Insomniac take a little bit more time. I understand from a business standpoint that this game's budget was getting very big, the development was taking a very long time, and of course, as well, the game sold like hotcakes. So to Sony, that tells them that it doesn't matter that they pushed it out before these features were done. People bought it anyway, and hey, I bought it anyway, so I understand contributing to that, but it's just worth pointing out. Overall, I would rather have the update, have these fixes, have these features added in versus not. I think in a perfect world, I wish that it had been all on the disc, but I do think a lot of this stuff is really cool. They even added in some accessibility features as well, like actually adding in things with audio descriptions. So for players that, need accessibility options like that, that's actually good. I really like that kind of stuff, like adding in cinematic captions and high contrast outlines are really good for people like that. So I really do like that kind of stuff when they're adding it in. I'm glad that this is here. And finally, there is also a pack that you can buy right now, which PlayStation is donating the full purchase price to Gameheads. So that is actually a charity cause, which I think is pretty cool. The suits, not for me, to be honest. And so they will be added in later on free. So I don't know. I guess if you want to help support a good cause, whether you like the suits or not, you can always just give the $5 and just donate because you want to do something nice. And then you have the suits if you like them. If you don't, you don't. But I think that's cool still as an option. I think it's nice. And I'm looking forward to seeing more from this game. I really am hoping that it's kind of like the first game where over time we will see some more suits. Maybe we will see, of course, as well, full single player DLC. I don't know. But I'm interested to see what happens because the big focus was this update. Now that this is out, the game is going to be changing pretty much forever, and it's kind of up in the air what'll happen next. I'm really actually excited to see what comes next for the Insomniac universe. They're working on Wolverine, of course, and some other stuff, and hey, sky's the limit. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. If you enjoyed today's video, please be sure to leave a like, subscribe for more content. Again, question of the day I asked you, what kind of suit was your favorite for each of the boys, and which suits would you maybe want to see added in from the comics? Because I'd love to maybe make a video about 5 suits I'd like to see added in. I don't know. I'm always open to suggestions. Fortnite creator code if you want to help support our channel. Leave a like, subscribe, let me know what you think. Also, we do have our own store, cosmobunny.shop. I shout this store out almost every video, but it's a passion project of mine and my wife, Jill. This is a store where we take comic books and manga that have been damaged, that can't actually be sold in stores, and we either get them at very dirt cheap discounted prices, or sometimes we are just gifted them by kind runners of local comic book shops in Minnesota, which means a lot to us. And what we do is we take those, we turn them into repurposed comic book and manga resin art. So these are things like coasters, keychains, mini keychains, trays, bigger trays, a lot of stuff that we're working on as well here that you can put in your house. I know my wife Jill is actually going to be working on light switch covers as well in the near future. That's something she's starting, and she does do handmade, hand-beaded jewelry on this website as well. So maybe you have a mom, a sister, a brother, a son, whatever, a friend that you want to buy something for. Hey, you know what? Maybe that girl that you've had a crush on, or that boy that you've had a crush on, or that guy you have a crush on every time you look in the mirror, that handsome devil. You know who you are. Maybe you want to treat yourself, buy yourself something cool. All of this goes to help support the channel, and we do appreciate you very, very much. Have a fantastic day, and as always, everyone, stay shui.